Hi. So I haven't done this for a while, but what the hell? Let's start the new year on a nice note. So happy New Year, folks. My name is Ritika Kochhar, and what I'm going to do this time is tell you a little story, and maybe it's not so little, but I'm reading it, and uh, I've promised a cousin of mine that I'm going to tell him the story every day because he doesn't have the patience to read it. So I thought, let me just record it so he can also hear it, and maybe other people who are interested in stories can also hear it. And so the book is called uh, The Adventures of Amir Hamza. And what we're looking at is, it says Ghalib Lakhnavi and Abdullah Bilgrami, and it's translated from Urdu by Musharraf Ali Faruqi. Over it is written the first complete translations of India's most beloved Islamic epic. Now, why is a book which was originally written in the 10th century, why is it considered India's most beloved Islamic epic? It wasn't written in India. However, there are three stories to it and how it became India's most beloved Islamic epic, and yet it doesn't have. My mother sees the book lying on the table and she's like, "That's Hamza Nama," but it's not called the Hamza Nama. It's called the Adventures of Amir Hamza. So, how is it so familiar that my mother just has to see this cover and knows that it's the Hamza Nama? And why is it that I've been looking for this book? I think for the past 15 years now. There's so many stories associated with this book, and I was like, I need to read this. Why am I not reading this? So, let's get to a little bit of why this book is India's most beloved Islamic epic. Why is it so important? Why do I think all of you are going to enjoy it as much as I am? The cover tells you a little bit. They're going to be jinns, they're going to be dragons, they're going to be people with wands doing magic. There are also lots of, at the same time, and this is the weird part, there are people in the background with musical instruments. So, why are there people in the background with musical instruments? Why are there jinns and dragons happening at the same time? Where is this picture from? Why is my mother so familiar with this book? Why is it that my father hears that I'm reading this book and goes, so this is about a Persian. Okay. The thing is that I'm going to start by telling you the story of the first couple of chapters, and then I'm going to keep doing this. I don't know if Instagram will allow me, so I'll be between Instagram and YouTube. You'll be able to find the rest of it on YouTube as well. I'm going to do at least a chapter a day. It's a fat book. It's not a thin book, so it'll take me a while to get through it, but so far it's really enjoyable. Okay. As I said, this was written in the 10th century. But then, by the beginning of the 16th century, you've got Babur writing about it in his diaries and saying that some idiots are translating this book. So he obviously wasn't very fond of the book at all. On the other hand, you come down a couple of years, and by the middle of the 16th century, you have the richest man in the world, who is Akbar, and okay, I'm going to go back a little bit, start the story from his father. So, and you're going to find a lot of that in Hamza Nama, this back and forth happening. So, Babur dies. He leaves Humayun in charge, and he tells his eldest son, who is Humayun, that you have to love your younger brothers and you have to care for them like your own. Unfortunately, he doesn't give that advice to his younger sons. So for 10 years, Humayun rules in Delhi. At the same time, you got his brothers, Kamran and Mirza, and one is ruling in Kabul and one is ruling around Punjab. And Humayun then has a fight with Sher Shah Suri. In the meantime, the brothers want his share of the property, so they come to attack him, wanting to hand him over to Sher Shah Suri. And Humayun was left running. Hi, Chavir. Okay, this is the story of Hamza Nama. And we're going to do it every day for a few days. So, Humayun is now left running with a very, very small amount of his courtiers. He decides to marry, he's 38, he gets married to this 14-year-old girl called Hamida Banu Begum. She gets pregnant, and they have no way to, they can't have this child. I mean, where do they keep this child? They're on the run. So they hand Akbar to Mirza, his Akbar's chacha, and we know that Mirza is the enemy. But having said that, we also know that staying with Mirza was a lot of the women of the family. So these are Padshah Khans in their own right. They are extremely important women. Mirza can't tell them to back off. They take care of Akbar, and also his wife is very kind to Akbar. After all, she is the chachi. Humayun goes running. He goes to Shah Tamab's court, the Ottoman king, and the Safavid king, not the Ottoman king, the Safavid king. And Shah Tamab is now old. He is also very cranky. So some days he's good to Humayun, some days he's not that good to Humayun. But he's also shutting down his ateliers. So it's said that about 300 artists follow Humayun back to India. Out of them definitely is Abd Samad and Aka Reza, two of my favorite artists. Humayun on the way back grabs Akbar. Akbar is even held up by Mirza over in front of the cannons. But his daima, the mother who gives him milk, who is Hamanga, she grabs him, takes him in. Humayun ends up dying a year after he comes back to India. He dies by falling down the stairs, if you all know. And Akbar, this very young boy, is left in charge of India, under the care of Bairam Khan, etc., and the women in the family, but he is left in charge of India. Akbar is dyslexic. Akbar also is a typical teenager, and he may not like reading, but he loves stories. So he is known to walk down the corridors telling the story of the Hamza Nama. And in this telling the stories of the Hamza Nama, he also puts together an atelier at the Tasveer Khana. He already had the painters who'd followed Humayun back from Persia, and he's the richest man in the world. He sends out a call. I want painters. So you've got painters coming in from all over the world, all over India, including this artist, the one who makes this lovely page. Now, this is an artist called Daswant, and I adore Daswant's work. As you can see, it's fantastical, and he's got so much happening. Daswant is the son of palkin bearers in Agra. He's not from a rich family, he's not from a well-known family, he's from a very, very, very ordinary family. So he is caught when he's drawing caricatures of the royal family on the walls of the Agra fort. And he's trained by the painters who are not exactly nice to any of these. They chabuk lagate hain in sab young painters ko. But Abul Fazl, when he writes the Akbarnama, he mentions that Daswant is now one of the most important painters, one of the finest painters in Akbar's court. Unfortunately, Daswant commits suicide not very long after the Hamza Nama, the first book in Akbar's Tasveer Khana, is made. But he's worked on the Mahabharata, which is called Razm Nama. So he's got all these fantastical scenes, and I've got a few which I will show you at some stage. I love the man's work. And the Hamza Nama is made on cloth. If you've seen the fards of Rajasthan, you would know the size of them. These are not small. These are huge paintings, and they're made rather like graphic novels. So they are to be read like that. The text is on the back of the thing. So when Akbar goes to the women's harems, somebody can hold it up, somebody will read out the back, and people can see the front. Akbar is a showman. He loves painting. He's a teenager. So that is where the Hamza Nama starts. Now, the Hamza Nama becomes so important to India that when Nadir Shah attacks India in 1757, he steals the Kohinoor, he steals the Peacock Throne, but he also steals the Hamza Nama from the library, the Mughal library. And Muhammad Shah Rangila is supposed to have run after Nadir Shah and said, take anything, but don't take the Hamza Nama. This is written in by the historians who follow Nadir Shah at that time. And Nadir Shah is supposed to have replied that, ask me for anything, but don't ask me for the Hamza Nama. So he takes the Hamza Nama. As you know, Nadir Shah doesn't get very far. He ends up, there is a mutiny at the camp and he is killed. The Peacock Throne is supposed to have been melted down. The Kohinoor gets stolen. The Hamza Nama disappears. We know it doesn't get back to Persia. And so that should have ended the story of the Hamza Nama. But then, not very, very, very long ago, in this century, we have now traversed centuries, somebody goes to a shop in Kashmir, and the windows are broken, etc. So the shopkeeper has used these cloth pieces to keep the wind out. And somebody recognizes that these are folios from the Hamza Nama. So Akbar's huge Hamza Nama, which had 1,100 illustrations, which was made over 10 years, which was the pinnacle of miniature art. We now have some 10 pieces of the Hamza Namas lying somewhere in the world. There was an exhibition on the Hamza Nama at the Brooklyn Museum in about 2003, 2005. So evidently so much was brought together that it was an exhibition. But the book, the Dastan-e Amir, is much more than that. It's much more than the Hamza Nama, although that's the most famous part of the Dastan-e Amir. It is, hi Krishnakant. So Krishnakant, if you want to join in, stories. I'm just telling stories here. And so this becomes familiar to all Indians. It becomes like a dastagoi. It's a dastan. So things get added, things get removed. It becomes absolutely a fat book. It's so big at times that when somebody goes looking for a translation of the Hamza Nama, of the Dastan-e Amir, they find that it is, by the 18th century, it's become so fat that it's difficult to translate. But then this author, he says that he got married and in 1994 he moved to Toronto. One day at the University of Toronto Library, he came across Urdu ki Nasri Dastein, and it contained information about a large number of classics written in the Urdu language in the 19th century. And many of them were dastans and qissas, and they were packed with occult, magic and sorcery. And then he discovered the Dastan-e Amir Hamza the second time. And one version of the Dastan-e Amir Hamza, which is written in 1883 to 1917, exists in 46 volumes, all of them approximately 1,000 pages long. Okay, so much as he loved the book, much as he spent his childhood pretending to be various characters from the book and fighting with his brother and all that stuff, he couldn't find an English version of the book. So he decides to rewrite the book, but in that, he says that he had a dream one day. And in that dream, he says that, where is this? It was a wintry night. I was fast asleep when suddenly I heard galloping noises and woke up. A horse-headed creature appeared from the darkness. Behind him walked an elephant-eared lady carrying a candle. The horse-headed gent greeted me with a sly smile, congratulated me, and said that I had been chosen to do the translation. Then the elephant-eared lady came forward and said that everybody was counting on me. Before I could say anything or ask any questions, they plunged back into darkness. I heard sniggering, galloping sounds, and then all was quiet. Of course, he had to do the book. Where's the choice in that? Okay. So, therefore, we have this translation. Now, who is the Hamza we are talking about in this book? There are said to be a couple of options. One is the uncle of the Prophet. So he could be the Hamza that we are talking about in this book. The other option is, and I had the page selected and then I took out I have no idea why I took out the thing. Okay. So it can be based on the life of Hamza bin Abdul Muttalib, the paternal uncle of Prophet Muhammad and one of his staunchest supporters, and is such a major figure in making Islam a victorious religion during the life of the Prophet. The historical Hamza fought for Islam and was killed during a major battle between Prophet Muhammad and his Meccan nemesis in the year 1625. His body was brutally mutilated. His liver was reportedly eaten by a woman named Hind, taking revenge for the death of her father at Hamza's hand. Hind-e-Jigar Khar, Hind the liver eater, from then on became the appellation for this Hind, and henceforth is applied to vicious and vindictive people throughout Islamic history. And the other option on who Hamza is he could have been a Muslim revolutionary of Iranian origin, Hamza ibn Abdullah, a member of the radical sect of the Kharjites. Now, the Kharjites were folks who they called radical because they believed that Ali, the son-in-law of the Prophet, shouldn't conciliate with the Ummas or the Caliphs, and they felt that Ali should fight the evil of. They felt it was the evil of the Caliphs. So Hamza is either the Prophet's paternal uncle and a great warrior of Islam, or as the Kharjite revolutionary. Either way, the valiant adventures of the fictive Hamza in the visible and the invisible worlds have traces of a Muslim revolutionary fighting for the noble cause of justice. But equally present in the adventures of Amir Hamza are the traces of the legendary Sassanid court of Iran, particularly that of Emperor Khusro I, who reigned from 1531 to 79 CE. So the period of Emperor Khusro I has nothing to do with the period in which Hamza is supposed to have lived. So he existed, if he's the uncle of the Prophet, he existed around 625 or died around 625. If he is the Kharjite Hamza, then he existed as I said, Emperor Khusro I, who reigned from 1531 to 79 CE, or known as Khusro Noshirwan the Just, and his vice vizier Buzurjmehr, existed in the 6th century. So centuries apart, nothing to do with each other. Okay. Now I'm going to read. Now the good part about this book is the name of the chapters tells you exactly what's going to happen in each chapter. So that makes life a lot easier. So book 1 starts, the first book of the Dasta of the Sahib Kiran, Amir Hamza bin Abdul Muttalib, and of the events preceding his birth. Okay, so in this we talk about the emperor, Nushirwan. No, the emperor before him, the father of Emperor Nushirwan, which is Emperor Kubad Kamran. And he had many viziers, but one of this vizier, and the most important of these viziers, was a gentleman known as Ashfaq. And also in the city lived Khwaja Bakht Jamal, who he was a learned man who traced his lineage to the Prophet Daniel. Okay, now Malik al-Kash was the emperor's vizier, And now he went and started studying under Khwaja Bakht Jamal, and he was supposed to be second to him only in learning. But one day he comes to Khwaja Bakht Jamal and says, look, for the next 40 days, your stars are very bad. Please don't leave your house. Bakht Jamal says, okay. And for 39 days, he stays inside the house. On the 40th day, he decides he's going to visit Alkash. So he comes out of the house and takes his horse, comes out of the house, takes a deserted road so he doesn't have to meet anyone. And on the deserted road, he sees this absolutely deserted apartments and enters that and finds a padlocked room. Once he steps into this room, he forces it open, the padlock, and then he steps into the room and he discovers the boundless treasures of gold and jewels. Now he gets so scared that he comes out and runs to Alkash's house. And he tells Alkash about this thing and tells Alkash, I'm telling you, you take whatever you want, you are the king's vizier, and if you want to give me something, please give me something. He takes Alkash to see the thing and the treasure, and as soon as Alkash gets there, he goes mad. And he decides that the only other person who knows about this is Bakht Jamal. So he decides to kill Bakht Jamal. Now Bakht Jamal knows what he's doing. So he tells Alkash, look, if you're going to kill me, and I know you're going to kill me, all I want you to do is two things. One is, my wife's pregnant, so please keep giving her money to take care of her. And the other thing is, if the child is a boy, have him named Buzuj Meher. So Alkash kills Bakht Jamal and buries his body in the same room. He doesn't even give him a proper burial or anything, just leave the body and leave the body of the horse in that room and goes away. He agrees to give some amount of money to Bakht Jamal's wife, but not a lot. But in the meantime, he goes back to his house and he sends, calls his people to him and asks for a huge garden to be built out there, which is called the Bagh-e-Bedad, because it's huge. I mean, it has everything, and turquoise chambers, and we're going to get into description of Bagh-e-Bedad in a little while. So that is the first chapter of the Dastagoi, or the Adventures of Amir Hamza. And as I said, I'm going to do this on a daily basis and keep telling these stories as much as I can, because it's really fun. Given my taste in life, it'll obviously be more about the fantastical side of it. But every word so far has been great fun. Thank you. Hope to see you all soon.